So I'm walking out here this morning. I've got a few things to do today. We're gonna run to town real quick, but then I've got some plans to can some zucchini bread, can some beets, do some stuff with my kombucha that I've got, gonna flavor it and see how that works. So I've got quite a few things I wanna do on this gloomy, yucky day, but I wanna show you something. This will be a Walipini update. So we've gotten a lot of rain, and if you've seen any of my Walipini updates, then you know we've dug this big hole in the ground and we're kind of trying to figure out how we're going to cover it up and put a roof on it. And now we have something else we have to do, and I'm going to show you why. So this is the Walipini right now, and yes, that is water. We put this around it because we had some people over and we didn't want people getting in it, or falling in it. Actually, this is the Walipini swimming pool, evidently. This down here is 5 or 6 feet deep, so this is a lot of water. It does slope up about halfway. It starts to slope up, but this is probably about 20, almost 25 feet long. It's pretty close where it starts to slope down there where the fence is. So this is a lot of water. I don't even know what to do right now. Obviously we can't do a whole lot. We're gonna have to pump the water out, but the ground is so wet, I think that if we even start digging or moving, it'll cave in, which is not good. So we're gonna really have to think about it. We may just have to kind of leave it like it is, let the water, I don't even know if the water will drain out, but we may have to, once we get past the rainy season, we may have to pump this out, leave it until spring. We should have got going on this when we still had a dry season, because it was really, really dry. The ground was so hard, and then we've gotten all this rain, and I'm afraid the heaviness of the clay will just like break off and fall in. So probably good that we have a fence around it, that the dogs don't get near the edge and nobody gets near the edge, because it probably would cave off a little bit. So I've got the beets in here, and whatever else is under there. I've got some kale, radishes, I think that's it. And then I've got the mustard, the big red mustard over here. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get some water going. I'm gonna do the beets first. I'm gonna pickle some. I'm going to probably not can any, because that does require pressure canning. I'm not sure that I want to pressure can today, but I'm gonna pickle some beets. I'm actually going to, I'm going to shred some of these up along with the mustard. I've got some cabbage. I'm going to make some coleslaw. I've got carrots and stuff too. So I'm going to mix all that up, and I'll get that going here before too much longer, because I've got to put salt on the cabbage and kind of get the water out of that. So let's get these in the water and get that started so I can kind of make a game plan of what I'm doing, because I also want to do some kombucha today. So we'll see. Alright, so the directions say to leave the taproot on and to leave 2 inches of the stem. So you want to put all the large ones in the bottom. If you put the small ones in the bottom, they'll cook too fast. They'll be really done, and these won't. So we just want them to kind of, we're going to boil them for like 20 to 40 minutes, depending on, I guess I just check them. I have never cooked beets before, and you just want the skin to peel off. And then we'll just cut the taproot off and the stem off, and we'll slice them and dice them, and we're going to pickle some. Some of these bigger ones I will probably shred up and put in the slaw as well. So these I'm going to probably take a couple of these out. See, these are the really dark ones. These are really, let's see if you can see that, really dark. They're really pretty though. I'm going to get a couple of these out as well, these dark ones for the slaw. I don't want too many because it will definitely color the slaw. Okay, so now we have a nice pot of beets. Alright, now so basically all we're going to do now is cover them with water and let them boil, and while that's happening I can move on to something else. Alright, so we're going to start filling this up. This is when one of those spigots right over your stove would be really handy. So while we're waiting on the beet to cook, I'm going to go ahead and cut up some cabbage for some coleslaw that I want to can. And I'm going to use some kale that we have, some beets, some radishes, and some red mustard. So I did not get any cabbage this year. So I bought some organic red and organic green cabbage. So I'm going to cut that up and put a little bit of salt on it and let that sit for, I don't know, probably about an hour, and let the water get out of that. Alright, so now that I have the green cabbage cut up, I'm going to put a little bit of salt on it, kind of mash it down, stir it up really good, and set it aside. Next up, we're going to go ahead and get the red cabbage cut up. I'm going to put it in a completely different pot so it doesn't bleed over and make all the green cabbage red as well. And I think I'm gonna actually do a couple of different batches of this slaw because I don't want the beets to bleed over onto the green cabbage either. So I'm gonna decide how I'm gonna do that and how I'm gonna split the beets up. Plan is to continue to make the coleslaw. Timer is on for the beets. They are boiling. So now it is time to cut off the ends of these radishes. I'm going to shred them up, and then I'm also going to shred up the beets, but I'm going to shred them up in a different bowl. I don't know how well they're going to do, and I don't know how they're going to bleed out onto other things, especially these really dark beets. They are really dark colored, like this color of that stem. So let's get a knife, let's cut the ends off. Chickens are gonna love meat today because I am going to be taking them a scrap bowl full of yummy things. Good way to shred these up is if you just cut off their taproot and leave the stem, and then you can hang on to the stem while you shred it and just get about get all of it. All right, let's pick one more. Let's do this one because it's kind of split open. And then I think I'm going to save the rest of these for, even though there's a few bigger ones, I'm going to save the rest of those for some salads and things to eat raw. These were crazy. These are white icicle radishes. So and then I'm going to save the rest of these and just put them in the fridge. This one was my favorite. Check out that shape. I'm going to do these first. These are really dark. This is such a dark beet. And I've already cleaned these. Sprayed them off. Peeled some of that off. Look how beautiful that color is. So I almost forgot about the carrots. I had bought some organic carrots to use because our carrots are not ready. And so I'm going to shred those up. I did not use all of the giant red mustard. I have a whole big stack of it here. I just was afraid to put very much of it in it. I've never made it like this before. Actually, I've never made coleslaw in a can before. So I'm going to peel these and then I'm going to shred these up. Let's get these shredded. I have a nice pile where the chicken's going. I'm going to cut off the ends, and I think I'm just going to shred them right into where the radishes are. So we've had some battery issues, but it looks like the beets have been boiling basically look like a bunch of roots. Kind of nasty looking, to be honest with you. So the skins are supposed to slip off, and they're actually different color. So now it's time to run them under cool water and cool them down and get the skins off. All right, let's get these out and put them in the strainer, and then we're gonna run some cool water over them. So the skins come off of these really easily. Look at that beautiful color. I am definitely keeping these separated because I don't want to miss these pretty colors. These really lightened up a lot, and they are definitely hot. So we've got the beets cooked. We've got them de-skinned. We're going to chop them up, but first we're going to go ahead and get the pickling brine ready. So we have some beautiful de-skinned beets. I'm not going to lie, some of these look kind of nasty. These kind of lost that pretty color that they had. I don't know what they're going to look like when I cut into them. We can leave the small ones whole, and we can cut the bigger ones up. Either slice them or chunk them. I'm going to chunk them because they fit into the jars better. Still have some of their pretty stripy color. Alright, I'm just going to cut the tip and where the stem was off. I have quite the mess in my kitchen today. I have slaw going, I have this going, so I don't know that the slaw is gonna finish getting done today. So I just had a thought. I can't put these beets in with these beets into the pickling liquid because they will bleed out and they will color these, and then I won't have two different colored beets. So we're gonna have to do these separate. Add 10 cups of beets. So this is 4. But that is about 7. Alright, so I think if I do those first and then I do these, maybe that will work, because these need to be done last because they will bleed and change the color of the pickling solution, as you can see. Time to fill the jars, get the jars ready to be filled. We're going to go ahead and turn on the lids and the rings, get them hot. Get the jars out of here. So while we're waiting on the beets, we're going to go ahead and take our cabbage that we have salted and we're pulling the liquid out of. We're going to go ahead and strain this off. So we're going to put this in here. Alright, so we've got the beets boiling again. So we're going to take them and we are going to fill our jars. We're going to leave about a 1/2 inch headspace. Alright, we're going to take our little tool and we're going to make sure there are no bubbles. We're going to bring the real dark ruby red ones up to boil and get to where we can get those canned as well. I'm just going to wipe these lids off. We have our lids. So we have our lids and our rings. A little tool to get these out. So just need 4 of these. Ready to go in the canner. Alright, so these will boil for about 30 minutes. We'll take the lid off, let it cool down for about 5 minutes, pull the jars out, and let them seal and put them on the shelves. That's it. I really don't want to open one really soon, but I'd be curious to see what they taste like. I probably should have left a little bit out to see what they taste like. I've never actually had pickled beets, so we shall see. I'm going to give you a quick peek at the colors that I have in the slaw, and then I'm done for this evening. I'm going to continue the slaw tomorrow. So this is the green cabbage, got carrots and some of the kale in there, and then we have the red cabbage with the darker beets and some of the other goodies too. It's the next morning, and we are going to finish this coleslaw. This one is the green, and I have everything mixed up in here. I'm just going to put this in the jars, and I think I have overestimated the amount that I have. So it has a lot of pretty color to it. Now this is a cold pack, and I'm just going to pack this down a little bit. I'm on about a 1/2 inch headspace. Doing this by hand is much easier than trying to put this in with a spoon. Make sure that it's kind of packed in there though, so that we have plenty in there. Let's go ahead and wipe the jars off. Push any of this down. It needs to go down. So we have the hot brine. This is just, we've got 2 cups of water, 4 cups vinegar. I put 2 white and 2 apple cider, and then 1 cup of sugar, just because I like a little bit of sweetness to my coleslaw. Let's go ahead and check for air bubbles in these that we have, because we can go ahead and get these in processing. Alright, and then we will just finger tighten these down, and we will get these in the processor. So we've got these in here. We'll just put the lid on this. We will process it for 15 minutes. Then we'll take the lid off, let it cool down for about 5 minutes, take those out, and get the other ones in there and finish up this batch of coleslaw.